Don't
I
make
can
me
drink.
cry.
Okay, so we're going to do right now, we're going to go to YouTube. So please.
We are live.
We're live already. So make sure that if you want to show yourselves and your pretty face, then show it to us.
Yes, but if you don't want to be on camera, please turn it off, because we're going to be sharing pretty much all over the internet of what we do, because we're awesome.
That's good. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's a little bit slow, my presentation.
That's okay, failing forward. That's our motto, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just be patient with it, please. That's all I'm asking for. Now you can maybe share meanwhile, what's the weirdest thing you've done today so far?
The weirdest thing
you've done so this day. Or in life.
I'm doing it right now.
So WWJ stands for Weird Web Jam.
Weird Wednesdays. Weird Wednesdays, actually.
Weird Wednesdays.
We could change that name again now. Welcome to your Weird Wednesdays. Where we call me?
I believe it's top of the hour. Humana, Joanna,
yes,
or Mark, or anybody.
So it's top of the hour. That means we are ready to start. Just again, back to the reminder on. We will be sharing a lot of your pretty faces on the web. So if you would like how you want to share with us about you, you can choose it. And for those of you who are new to Wednesday Web Jam and happen to be here, this is a space where we welcome clumsy innovators, compassionate facilitators, cheeky co-creators, ignorant experimentalists, hungry learners, and of course, change makers. So you're all welcome in this safe space to share and create together. And our principle here in Wednesday Web Jam, it's failing forward. There is no other way. We're learning together. So remember to be kind, be nice, and be empathetic. And be ready to share your stories. Those are like your tears, your fears, your dreams. And listen and share to each other. Ta-da! So today we're welcoming Ofri, Hirsch, and Cornelia, Walther, and a little bit. So hello, they're gonna wave to us. I will really share about them. They will introduce more about themselves. So Ofri Hirsch, she's a design thinker, urban and landscaper designer, but also a culinary team builder. And so along with food, she shares more about experiences and history of dishes that making people come together as learning how to cook. It's a life skill, which is an essential one. And then we also welcome Cornelia. She's a humanitarian practitioner, and she has done work projects with UNICEF and also the World Food Program, different places around the world too. And she developed the POZE paradigm. So we will experience today and talk about food and how that connects to social change in different elements. So welcome, Ofri and Cornelia, to be here at the Wednesday Web Jam. Bravo! And then we can clap together.
Thank you so much for having us here today. And I hope you're ready to do some exploration. I'll start by telling you a little bit how I ended up at this point today. So the idea of exploring food and design came out of a combination of my background in architecture, combined with my passion for food and cooking and getting people together. And after working as an urban designer for 17 years, I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, to the mountains. And while I still work as a designer part-time, I also started, I created a place, a kitchen where people come together. And that's how I got into team building. And so the past 6 years, I've been facilitating team building workshops involving food and lately a little bit of design thinking, involving that process of design thinking. The past year, I've done some short training sessions with college students with design thinking methods and problem solving. And what I noticed time and time again was the difficulty of the students to take personal responsibility, and they struggle to see their role within an existing problem, and were kind of had this tendency to blame it on others. They felt powerless, and that's the result of that they really felt very powerless. And when I met Cornelia and her POZE paradigm, which you will hear about very soon, I thought that could be a really great way to empower them. I wanted to show them how to connect to themselves and that power that they have within them to convey and start and trigger this process of change, and to see that they can influence certain things by that connection. And for me, food is that thread of connection. It's the thread that connects all the layers of the POZE paradigm that we're going to learn today. And it's just, I find that it's just a great way to connect to people and create that change. So in the slide that you could see, we have some examples of comfort food, and I hope you have your own comfort food. Whatever culture you come from, maybe you have that special dish that connects you back to your childhood or a certain memory or a certain place. This dish that when you eat it, you could just relax, you know, and feel at home. So if you can please share with us what is that special dish for you in the chat. And let's start our journey.
So we see schnitzel, raclette, coffee,
Yep.
lasagna. Ooh, I'm getting hungry.
Coffee.
Falafel, pastrami.
What is mole frites?
Moules frites are the French mussels.
yeah,
It's a mussel stew.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it's with different sauces, with with the cream sauce, or with gorgonzola sauce, or with wine sauce. And also frites are, you know, French fries. It's a separate dish, so you combine both, and of course with a beer or less of white wine or red. Oh, come on.
Sounds good. I see why it's a comfort food.
Yes. Yeah. Sushi I can also share.
Okay. So now it's Cornelia.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And maybe just one word said in advance. I'm a big fan of constructive critique. So if you have any questions, ideas, suggestions, then please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll address them on the floor or otherwise in the final plenary.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a word on where I come from to explain where this goes. The question of change has always been on my mind. So over the past 30 years, I've explored various venues, and their complementary failure has gradually allowed me to design and deliver POZE, which I'm going to talk more about, and which is kind of the underpinning of what you will experience in this hour. I started out as an actor, thinking that if you show people how beautiful the world could be if everybody was included and respected, then they will act accordingly. Well, that didn't work. So I became a lawyer, thinking that if you put out the right rules, then you will have the right behavior. Obviously, that did not work out either. And maybe the most stunning illustration of the gap between paper and practice is the Convention of the Right of the Child and the reality that children around the world are facing every day. So I changed again and I became a humanitarian worker. And over the past 20 years, I've been working in some of those countries where change is maybe needed the most. I've been in Afghanistan and Haiti, in Congo and Chad and Mali. And all these places were amazing, but they were also a very clear illustration that change is needed and that change starts with individual choices. We can't bring them from the outside. And gradually I realized that, well, it's not going to make any dent. And maybe today's news illustrate very clearly that too much is needed to be done. So I changed again. I took a sabbatical and I began to refine and write down POZE. And this is what we're going to talk about more now, and which is based on the understanding that human existence is a composition of 4 dimensions, with soul, heart, mind, and body expressed as aspirations, emotions, thoughts, and sensations, which makes each of us a reflection of the environment that we evolve in, with individuals that are part of countries, that are part of society, that are part of the planet. Nothing happens in a vacuum. Everything is connected. And it's this awareness, this understanding that no matter who we are and what we do, it has influence on others, is a very big shift in perspective when it comes to our choices. Because ultimately, the situation that we find ourselves in is neutral. It's our inner reaction to it that is going to color our action, that is going to shape our environment, that situation that we're going through right now, which is then again impacting how we feel and think about that situation, which is archived as memories, etc., and so on. If you're interested in more details, I've written a couple of books. You're welcome to explore and ask me any kind of questions. I try to dig ever deeper. But the main point here to remember is that change starts from the inside out and is then nurtured from the outside in. It's that ongoing cycle that never stops. And the reason why I think it's a really interesting element, as simple as it is that it makes that utopian statement that we can change the world something very concrete and pragmatic, which begins at the core of the center, the aspiration of individuals for change, for a meaning, for a why, for something that goes beyond cash, cats, and career. So ultimately, situations are neutral. It's our action that is not. And it's that power of choice that every one of us has every single day. And food is in a way a very concrete entry point to explore the connection between our body and mind, between our emotions and our aspirations. Because it's that practical example that shows us every day and if we do it consciously, reminds us every day of the choices that we can and have. And POZE is based on that, on 4 principles to identify our aspirations, to work with our emotions rather than being their victim, to train our thoughts, and to use our own body as a laboratory, to explore and find out what life is actually about. Because our own framework is our own safe space to experiment with new behaviors. And this is one of the ways to translate the POZE acronym. There are others if you're interested. And this leads us to the first breakout room, which Ofri is going to explain in more detail.
Yes, so thank you everyone for writing your comfort food. If you just got here, you're welcome to add your favorite comfort food in the chat. And we will go into the first breakout room, and looking at this chart in front of you, we will write, how does comfort food influence those 4 dimensions? So in that first column, how does your comfort food affect your soul, your heart, your mind, and your body? And how does it make you feel? So let's get into the breakout room. See you when we get back.
Just 1 second. Let me just make sure we have everybody configured right. Okay. So what I am going to do is open the breakout rooms here in just a second, and for our crew that's going to stay in the main area, including our guests, I'm putting you guys in room 1. And what you guys will see in, if you could, Cornelia, just share the image of the mural. We're going to send you to a breakout room, and if I'm not correct, Ofri and Cornelia, they're going to be working on a mural. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a link to the mural in the chat. You can click on that, and you should go to mural. If you're not familiar with mural, somebody in your room probably will be. It's very easy to use. You can just click on the little sticky note. It looks like what you're seeing on the screen, and the prompt is also in your chat to answer the question and discuss in your team. And if you have any questions, just chat to one of us and the hosts, and we'll try to help out. Okay.
So we're looking at the yellow section at this point. That's the first breakout room.
Yeah, the orange activity
Orange,
1.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right. See you guys in, how much time do we have?
We have
about, what is it, 5 minutes? Yeah, okay. So we will see you guys on the other side, and talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
See you in 5 minutes.
Okay, so I think for those of you watching on YouTube, we're going to be bringing the speakers back to the main session. And just in just a moment, you won't have to just look at me. And they are back. Great. And Ofri. Okay, great. Cool.
Yeah, we're back. Super. All right. Let's then go to the mural. Then we'll have one for us. We can maybe start sharing if you would like. Mark.
which one are we?
We're room 1. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize we're working.
Which is your comfort food, Mark?
Lasagna.
How do you think that influences your soul, your heart, your mind, and your body?
Well, the body, it's all about the sensations of eating the food and the richness of the tastes. It's really interesting thinking about this. That's kind of more just really very physical, and it's almost like transactional in a way, right? Even though that's the part you think about. The mind part is, I think when you're, the way I like it is when I eat my own, because I've put all the work into it. So the mind is thinking about the process of cooking and what tastes good and what looks good and what other people are experiencing. Certainly the heart is about the love that you put into it and the fact that you're sharing it with other people. And I'm not sure about the soul. I don't know about the soul. So I'm interested in what other people say about the soul. Maybe it makes me better to go to heaven because I've given love to people. I don't know.
With lasagna. So maybe I will share mine. Like my comfort food would be quesadillas, but specifically handmade tortillas, and it's like cheese from a state called Oaxaca. And I think that from the soul part, if I think more in depth, in the end, we use corn to make those tortillas, right? So corn defines us in the Mexican cuisine something in a certain way. And it was corn that has been part of our history way back. And I think that's, like part of heritage, or in the roots, or this influence that there is, that it connects to part of, being Mexican, I would say. So that nourishes my soul. Because when I go to other countries and I want tortillas, they would usually be made of wheat or any other, but not corn. So that's when I miss Mexican food, and that one specifically. So it's like with the heart. I feel that particular love to what we have in Mexico, because we use also corn for many things, and the mind. I think it's more like it also makes it to become like peaceful, because with the cheese we like shred it or make like little strings with it. So I think that moment it's my mind focusing and like process that you mentioned, right? Just like little by little and enjoy it. And finally in the body, it just influences in the way that it has like protein and carbs. So it's it's good. It's just something like what else, like healthy, like food to have as well, or something easy. I think that's how it influences in my 4 dimensions.
This is definitely getting me hungry. So we have about 4 minutes before we're going to bring people back from the breakout rooms.
Okay. Should I go? Would you like me to? That totally made me hungry, and I want to try this now. So mine is rice pudding, and for me, it just has this association of childhood and something we had every week on Friday for lunch, even though it's sweet, and we had it sweet, but it just takes me back to these memories, and really nourishes my soul every time I eat it. I just feel not just full body-wise, but just nourished and loved. The heart is more like love, maybe, and mind is craving, or sometimes when I'm feeling stress, it's just the thing that I go to. Yeah, and I always feel very relaxed. Obviously, a lot of carb load, so kind of feel relaxed and like I need a nap.
Cool.
Can I go? Yeah, for me, it's vegan vanilla ice cream. And I guess it's on the sensational level. It's just that boost of sweetness that is coming with the combination of cold. And then on the emotional level, it's just that, I guess it's an inject of all the serotonin, which is now the mind speaking. But it's just this happiness, this joy that is so simple that can be activated with a couple of spoons of that cold sweetness. And on the soul level, I mean, soul, and maybe I should have said that as an explainer, it's not just something that has to do with religion or anything, but it's really anything that pertains to a spiritual experience, but also belief systems. What you believe in. And in a way, I think that food is a reminder for me that it's possible to have all the enjoyment that vanilla ice cream has, but still have the vegan principles that I like to respect.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think everybody's coming back here in just a few seconds. So the soul is about maybe you can share that when people come back. Body, mind, and heart seem to be more obvious, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, in a way it's, and I always struggle with that, but I didn't find a better word. And interestingly, in neither of the languages, not in English, not in German, not in French, I did not find a word that is all encompassing and that has this spiritual dimension, but which has nothing to do with religion if the person has no connection with it.
Cool.
Welcome back, everyone.
Is anybody else hungry? You can reach your hand.
My mouth is salivating.
Ready to eat right now. So
Good thing we have the session before lunchtime, right?
I ate just before this session, so
I ate before, but I'm still hungry.
I'm fully protected.
maybe nice.
I'm not exposed to temptations.
Does anyone want to share what they talked about in the breakout room?
We have our friend from Brazil who has
Anything you struggled with, or
a rich experience in the cuisine, and they relate it to, or he relates it to the weather. So, Danny, could you please explain more?
Yes, I said that the weather is to Brazilians. Weather is related with the kind of food, because I have a lot of kind of foods. But if you are in the cold days, feijoada is the rice and beans with pork meat. It's the choice. If you are in today it's hot, a lot of hot. Açaí, I think that everybody knows açaí food, the coconut water, it's our drink all the time. And fresh food today, salad. But when we are on the winter's day, I ate matzo ball. Ofri knows the food that I love, because I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish. And I love matzo balls, varenikis, I love all kinds of Jewish food, okay?
Hummus, falafel.
Hummus, falafel, shawarma.
So Cornelia, that's a very interesting segue to the question that we had in our, maybe not question, but the thing we were exploring is the soul, right? And my mind kind of went to my belief system and principles and things like that. Is tell us a little bit more about the soul part of this POZE.
Yeah, thank you. I always struggle a bit with the word, and I have written about it in English, in German, in French, and I have not quite found a word that encompasses this all-embracing dimension that is spiritual, and which is not necessarily connected to religion. Some of us are from a religious background, others are not. But we all share that quest for a meaning, for a why, for a purpose, for something that goes beyond what can be experienced on a more material, intellectual, and even emotional level, something that is just going deeper. And that is what soul relates to. Thank you.
Ofri, what do you think about that activity? Any other prompts or questions for feedback from people?
Yeah, I mean, I think this activity is meant to sort of make us think about that connection and trigger all these things. Are we feeling and hungry as well as other feelings? And really, I think it has a ton of cultural thing we didn't actually mention in the breakout room, but it connects us to our roots, right, and where we come from. As we could see, obviously, we have this amazing collection of comfort foods from around the world. A lot of them I don't even know what they are, and I'm sure I'd love to try it. But yeah, it's definitely a big component of that, and I think that is the core of who we are, our culture, and that's huge, you know. And I think I often see, maybe working with college students who come from across the United States, and trying to fit in and all that. And sometimes maybe we forget that on the side, along the way, or not forget it completely, but put it aside. So I think when food just triggers that immediately and kind of sends you to where you're from, But yeah, if anyone else wants to,
I'm curious about this concept for which there is no word, and perhaps we could talk about it a little more, and maybe all the smart people on this call, maybe we could think of a word.
Beautiful.
Are we talking about the soul that Cornelia is talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
And I apologize. I joined a little late, so I'm getting up to speed. But I thought it was a beautiful thing that she was describing in a paragraph, and maybe we could invent a word that would be something very interesting to come out of this call.
Beautiful.
Cornelia, if I may, just to Mark, is it okay to ask the question now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Cornelia, how did you come about with the concept of soul and integrating that into this framework?
This whole framework has arisen in a way organically over the past 10 years. And if you like, when we look at the body, the mind, the heart, which is the traditional way of distilling human existence and experience, it addresses what comes superficially, but there is still something missing. Like when you think about your own life experience, it's not just about the material aspect, it's not just about the intellectual, it's not just about the emotional, the relationships. There is always that quest for meaning. There's always that there must be something more. And I think it's just when I was initially designing this and when I was initially envisioning it, I felt that there is something missing. There is something missing when I just have the three outer layers. So I guess that's just why I kept on digging deeper in myself. And I sought to eclipse it in that word which has become soul and which aims to have this macro question, this why. Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. I think that's fantastic individual experience that you're talking from and research that you're talking about. I was just telling our group, I grew up in a place called Pondicherry in the south of France, India, southeast of India. It's an ex-French colony. And I studied in a place called, it was an ashram. Ashram is a spiritual.
Ashram?
Yes. So you think of this, I told one of my Jewish friends talking about Danny that the ashram is like a kibbutz without the sex and the drugs. And he said, then it's not a kibbutz. Yeah, it's a spiritual ashram. And that's where I studied. And there are 4 dimensions in which we worked all the time, was physical, vital, mental, and spiritual. So very similar to what you're talking about. And then also in Hinduism, there is a concept of Atman, which is Atman. I put a link in the chat, which talks about the Atman and the soul, which talks about the larger question of why. Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Interesting.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well, we have another breakout that we're going to go to. Federico, we'll have a little bit more time for plenary if you can hold your question till then. Okay, awesome. Over to you, Ofri and Cornelia.
Cornelia, do you want to introduce the next breakout room?
Yeah, thank you. So now we come to the collective dimension of food. And in the same way as food is a connection between our material and our inner realm, it's also a connection between us and others. And in the next breakout room, we would like you to think about, on the one hand, how does food serve as a connector? What are your experiences from social gatherings, from encounters in other countries, in other communities, where food was somehow that material bridge that connected individuals with each other? And then, this being a design thinking community, maybe start coming up with ideas in your group on how can this kind of connection be engineered consciously. And for that, you are invited to return to the mural and fill in the second column.
In mural again.
And then we'll see you back in 5 minutes.
Yes. So the mural link is in the chat, and we'll give you maybe 5 or 6 minutes in your breakout rooms just below where you were working before in your room, activity 2. Have a discussion about that. All right.
Use sticky notes.
Use sticky notes. Yeah. If you want, take your notes.
And images. You can use images too.
Really just to help you have a discussion, to structure the conversation a little bit.
Awesome.
Back here in about 5 minutes.
See you in 5.
Okay. Bring it back. All right. Sherry and Gavin, would you like to go to join one of the groups, or do you want to stay here? Up to you.
Maybe they are listening.
We'll take that as a we'll stay here kind of response.
Perfect.
Oh, sorry, I'm driving. Would love to be put in a group if possible. Thank you.
Okay, Sherry. All right. And Gavin, we'll just leave you here. We haven't heard anything from you. Cool. All right, let's jump over and do our part. We have just under 4 minutes left. Fast, it's gonna go fast. So it'll be about 5 minutes actually, because I've got 60 minutes for closing, 60 seconds for closing, sorry.
So the question is, how does food serve as an element of social connection? And can you use it consciously to create social connections? Mark?
Are we just talking or working on the board? How would you like?
We can take notes. Jimena, I will take notes for you if you'll take notes while I'm answering your question. So for me, yes, for sure. I mean, food is one of those things that it's almost by definition, of course it's not by definition, creates social connection. It's it definitely from my experience is a way of bringing, I think, amazing way of bringing people, you know, literally around a table to share. And I think that idea that you're touching the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul, even though you're not really talking about that necessarily, it really helps to open people up and be more empathetic amongst each other. And I don't know why, but I think that's super interesting. But it is one of those things that when you're I know they use it in all kinds of rituals and all kinds of different cultures as a way of bringing people even in conflict together to help open them up and be more empathetic and share something together before they start talking about the conflict situation. So yeah, food it's the secret sauce, so to speak. That's my thought. Jimena, what do you think?
On social connections, I think that I'm just going back to a special memory when sorry, when I was an exchange student. So in that particular moment, I think I was invited by my friends who were from Pakistan, and they were celebrating Eid. So that moment, they were also teaching me about how they were cooking their food, but also it was a way that I could ask questions about it and celebration and what it meant, and like every little detail that was like new to me. So it was part of the end of our friendship as well, and how we connected beyond of course, our classes. So I think I have really that special memory that came to my mind of how food kept bringing us together. It's not only about showing, oh, this is my dish, or, you know, like, because there are some fairs like that you can go stand by stand at that moment. But when you're part of the process of doing it together, I think we can also come from this part of not knowing, and because we don't know, and then it's also like safe to keep asking and learning from each other and connecting.
What country were you at the exchange?
Sorry? I was in Sweden.
Okay, so you were both foreigners.
Exactly.
And that, yeah.
Okay, the breakout rooms are going to close in about a minute. So,
okay.
Anna, would you like to share?
Yeah.
So for me, you know, I came a little bit late into this, but the thoughts that came to my mind at first were when I was in school, at least in India, you don't eat alone, right? So if you eat lunch in India, you're always eating with 10 other people. And that's typically how our lunches used to be, right? So everybody would come in with their tiffin and they would open it up, and no one would eat from the same tiffin box. It was literally like I would eat from somebody else's tiffin box, somebody else would eat from mine, and so on and so forth. And that was some way in which, you know, people used to connect, right? Because in some ways you were understanding a little bit more about what was happening in somebody else's house, what food was made in someone else's house, and so on and so forth. So that's what I have to share right now with the small thing. I don't know whether is completely contextual or out of the picture.
That's a great example.
Donna.
I totally relate.
Nice. Cool.
Cornelia or Ofri, would you like to?
Yeah, it's
Oh, we're back all.
yeah.
Welcome back to the main room. Hello, baby. Donna, sorry. I got super excited.
Were you all able to share? Was it enough time? Oh, look at this baby.
Oh, she's so cute.
Maggie, hello. Welcome to Wednesday Webcam.
It's our youngest jammer.
I wonder what she will eat, but let's go back.
Yeah. So Cornelia and Ofri, discussion.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. And were everyone able to share their story or thoughts? I want to share it here instead.
Federico, go for it.
Thank you. I mean, this is inevitable to be very, very spiritual after this jam, and I love it. Those that know me. And two things, like first one is like yesterday we were studying this weekly portion from the Torah. I mean, speaking about Danny and stuff, and we are in Noah with the Ark with Noah. And something that was very interesting that happened with yesterday's class that I was in today is that they were saying that those that were saved with the Ark were the ones that were connected with the inner part of the Ark. Okay, somewhere like touching the Ark, they realized that they whatever, but only the ones that were in touch with the inner part were saved. And here is what's happening with food. Okay, what you propose to us is speaking about the physical, mental, the emotional,
Ritual.
and the soul. Yeah, and when we connect with the soul part of the food is when we get saved, because and connecting with that we just spoke is we see food like a way to connect our souls. We can start giving, and that's the things that make things different. Many of our traditions, and not only Hebrew but Indian and all, I mean American tradition with Thanksgiving, it's about when you connect with food to give, and then when you connect with the food, like with your soul. And we were speaking with Colin, he brought this Japanese concept of soul, and when we start to give, we connect our souls. It's like this DNA that will understand all of our souls, and food could be an enabler, something that would enable us if we do it in the right way. If it's food to share, to give, we all have it, and I don't know, once in the US they say that the US keep being like a nice place to be is because of Thanksgiving. All the things that happen. Thanksgiving makes the things to balance the US, because that's the day of the year when you are giving and you are appreciating and you are connecting through food. So I don't know, maybe this was very very, very spiritual, but I wanted to talk because I yesterday they were speaking about the Ark, and we can make arcs like with the food and the thing that we're doing today. I felt like we are in some kind of an arc. I mean, so thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I didn't get to share in the breakout room, so I'll just share. I mean, I have many thoughts about this, but one example, so in the Jewish tradition, we have a Shabbat dinner once a week on Friday night where we light candles and we all get together, eat food, show gratitude, and that's always something that connects me in such a deep level, but on such a deep level. But in my family, we really try to get together for dinner almost every night. We do the best we can, and always everyone has to mention 2 or 3 things they're grateful for today. And that connection for me between food and gratitude, it's one and the same kind of. And it's just a tool in a way of taking us outside of ourselves and being grateful. And it's a little ritual, a little everyday ritual.
Yeah, and maybe talking about tools, it's also a tool to just remind us that we have so much more in common than what separates us, right? Because every meal is a remembering that we all share those 4 dimensions. In society, we always tend to focus on that what distinguishes us, what separates us. But ultimately, every meal, every taking in of food is an illustration that we all have these 4 dimensions.
Yeah, and actually in relation to example with the Indian food, was it in this plenary session or was it in the breakout room? Yash, was that in the breakout room?
It was in the plenary last.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry, I couldn't remember, but I grew up in Israel in a community where we always ate together, and when I moved to Australia and I had a job in an architectural firm, lunches were very much about the individual's time. Some people would go for a jog, they go shopping, I don't know, they do all different things, and they never ate together, and it used to really make me sad, literally, every single time. I couldn't get over it. And I really craved that mealtime together. You know, for me, that's what I was used to, and it was very hard for me to adjust to and adapt to that.
I'm sort of, you make me think of every now and again I'll do some kind of a retreat, and one of them is this Kahuna bodywork, and there might be 5 days of fasting or maybe just drinking, you know, minimal food, just water, and you kind of go through a hunger phase, but then you go beyond that, and then at the end there's a shared meal, perhaps, and there's been a lot of process that's been happening, and we've kind of, bodies become much more sensitized, and then the dreams shift and change, and at the end the sharing of the meal is like a grounding and a coming back to reality, coming back to the physical form, and almost the integration of this little journeying that's been happening by allowing our body and heart to journey a little bit, and so the food is not only a grounding for our own perceived individual experience, but it's also a way to ground in community, and yeah, that was just a thought that came up after what you shared, Ofri.
And I think the garden example is exactly, I mean, gardening is known to have spiritual properties, right? It's used in so many religions as a place of reflection and solitude, and, you know, it's a tool, you know, spiritual tool. So I think totally, you know, you grow something and there's nothing more basic than that in terms of our bodily needs. You know, we need to eat, and it's so, you know, the soil and all that, so takes us to our roots and our, literally, but also metaphorically, you know, and it's so much about basic needs of nourishment, but it has such a spiritual aspect to it as well, and it connects us to our being, definitely. It's a great example.
Fantastic. So how might we wrap this discussion up?
Yeah.
Friends.
Put it in the wrap. Bit of salad, bit of avocado in the wrap, and a bit of cheese in the wrap, a bit of bean in the wrap.
I'd like to just connect this topic and invite people to maybe come back to the Wednesday Web Jam with again, like a systems design topic, because I think also knowing where food comes from and the cycle of food is very important. I think a lot of children nowadays, they just think that food comes from the supermarket, and they don't. I think having that knowledge of growing food, like the story that Mint was just sharing in the chat, is very beautiful, and it helps us be present to what Cornelia was sharing about, like how things are connected, and everything comes back in a circle. So again, going back to systems practice. Anyway, just a couple of thoughts.
Thank you, Ezekiel. I think we can all even take it to our lunch, you know, after this session, and just think, you know, think of that moment that we sit down and eat. The positive or the negative relationships we have with food, individuals and society. What is our story, you know? And Cornelia will end up we'll wrap this up with a little session.
Yeah.
We have about 2 minutes, Cornelia.
Yeah.
We'll close it down in a soft way and just having this on-the-spot experience of our 4 dimensions. So I'd invite you to just drop everything that you're holding right now in your hands. If you're wearing glasses, take them off and just pause for a moment. Offer yourself that space. And now look around you and take in what's around you. Touch maybe the table that your laptop is standing on. Look what the room around you looks like. Listen to the noises around you and outside. Maybe you still have the flavor of your breakfast or whatever you have taken before. Sniffle a little bit the air and take it all in an objective way, without judgment. And now as you have taken in the environment that you are in, close your eyes and zoom inside. And apply that same objective observation to your thoughts, to your feelings in this very moment. Just notice them. Just take them in. And then experience this very moment. Just yourself being here. And when you're ready, we'll end up in the plenary to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cornelia. Thank you, Ofri, for hosting this session to all of us and helping us reflect together on our connection, right? That sometimes we might not know, but there's deeper than one way that exists. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I would like to share with you a little bit about who we're having next week and what we're doing next week. So first of all, I'll introduce Nachiket, who is part of our co-organizers in the Wednesday Web Jam, and he will talk about behavioral science. So Nachiket, please.
Thanks a lot. So next week we are planning something around behavior science and, as Ezekiel said, also systems thinking. So it's a surprise and we're still cooking it, but it'll be fun. So join us next week.
And well, now you know where you can find us on social media, where you like to post, share, tag us. We have all of these ones in Facebook, Instagram. So make sure you can keep spreading the word and, of course, connecting with the super wonderful community that we're all in. And Wednesday Web Jam is brought to you by these amazing volunteers that make miracles every day to make it happen. So thank you all. But as we also do this on a volunteer, there are some little things that we have to be paying for, as the internet and mail and Zoom right now to be within an hour connected. So if you would like to buy us some coffee or more cups of coffee and enjoy it together, here is where you can give us a little cup and join us to keep this thing moving. So we're going now to the backstage and we're going